You know, lately it seems that we've been seeing more diverse ethnic representation in the world of fashion. And a new modeling agency wants to push that further by dedicating itself to developing Indigenous talent. It's called Supernaturals, and Patrick Shannon is one of the co founders. Patrick, hello there.
Sanglaitla, good day. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for making time for us. So, where did all this start? What inspired you to launch this new modeling agency?
Yeah, it's been an exciting time. This kind of came from years of working in the fashion and media industries within Vancouver, and through all those years as being a professional photographer and filmmaker, I met my co-founder Jolene Mitten, who is an amazing community member in the Vancouver Indigenous community, but also was an international model for many years before founding Vancouver Indigenous Fashion Week. And so we built a strong connection, started working a lot with aspiring young Indigenous models, former kids in care who needed other opportunities. And so Jolene became an amazing person there. But then after continuing to talk about it and seeing the challenges that a lot of our models are facing in the industry and still asking the question, why are we not seeing meaningful representation as far as we should be seeing it? And so we came up with the idea to create our own agency where we can start advocating and supporting Indigenous models to enter and thrive in this industry.
Okay, well, you mentioned some of the challenges they were facing. So when it comes to Indigenous models or designers, what kinds of challenges were they?
Yeah. So when it comes to some of the challenges, there's a couple of them. Like the first one is just the barriers that are put in place for Indigenous people to even be able to get a foot in the door with the industry. Often, when you come from a reserve or you come from a remote community, there's also that big culture shock there because you have to come to a big city to be able to work in this kind of industry. And even then, there are so many different factors in play when it comes to needing extra supports because we come from a specific and unique context and background compared to most Canadians. And so our needs and our experiences are something that needs to be brought into consideration before even moving forward. And so even things like being able to access portfolios and photographers and even get your book started, there's just a lot of barriers there. And once you do get your foot into the industry, there's traditionally just been a lot of misrepresentation. There's been a lot of microaggressions, just a lot of even discrimination that our models have faced. And many of the models that we've worked with have shared stories of difficult experiences they've had with previous agencies, previous shoots, where their skin tone would be lightened to the point where they're not even recognizable as Indigenous people anymore, or demanding that their hair be cut, even though many of our models, that's a sacred thing that we only cut our hair at certain points in our life. And so there's just been a lot of barriers that we're hoping to overcome by really starting to advocate as Indigenous people and having that cultural understanding.
So therefore, you have the birth of Supernaturals. You put it out there, the word gets spread. What kind of response have you had?
It's been absolutely amazing. We've had so many fantastic clients reach out wanting to work with us. We're really excited to work with clients that are really interested in moving forward that needle of reconciliation when it comes to being able to help provide opportunities with in a context that aligns with their values and that allows for that healthy representation. So on the client side, the response has been great. The community reception has been even stronger with so many people reaching out and supporting us. And we've had over 150 model applications from all across North America. And not only just having all these amazing diversity of faces that want us to work with them and represent them, but also just the words that people have been saying. So many people have acknowledged and said that they could never even have imagined themselves pursuing anything like modeling or being represented in media because they just didn't see enough of us doing it in a meaningful way. And so I think the numbers just speak for themselves. Hundreds of people are being inspired now to pursue something they never even thought possible before, and not just in entertainment, but also in other fields where Indigenous people haven't traditionally been represented.
Well, it's cool to hear that you're getting this kind of interest from not just across the country, but across the continent. What kinds of obstacles or challenges does that pose for you? You know, just logistically to hook them up with shoots or shows or that type of thing.
Yeah, it's been definitely something we weren't expecting to have this much demand. So our focus has to be over on the West Coast where we're launching, but of course we're only 3 weeks old. And the models that we're currently working with, we have an opening roster of 9 models here. Well, we started with 8 and we brought on one more since, and we've got a lot more models we're working with. So just out of logistics, we're working on the West Coast in Vancouver here, but we're really hoping to expand our representation across the country into the United States. And so it's really exciting living and working at a time like this where so much pre-work can be done. So a client can be in Toronto or Montreal, and whether shoots happen here or there, we're going to be going down to Santa Fe Indian Market to represent with our models, which is really exciting. So there's a lot of opportunity, and the barriers don't seem to be as insurmountable as they were before.
That's good to hear. Now, what about clients? Do you have any particular criteria in deciding who you'd like your models to work with?
Yes, we do. Every single client that we work with is going to be vetted and has essentially needs to align with our values. One thing that we really have to pay attention to is making sure that we work with clients that aren't actively involved in anything that could compromise the well-being of our models. And when I say that, I mean making sure that we're not putting our models into a situation where they can be scrutinized or attacked for being the face of something that maybe goes against the values or work being done within our own communities. It's by the nature of many things that just being born Indigenous these days is a political act, and we have a lot more scrutiny under anything that we do. And so part of this is making sure that we work with these clients, as I mentioned, that are really interested in having meaningful representation and moving away from just tokenism or stereotyping, and actually having clients that want to have us represent as people, where we're really starting to showcase who we are without the need for all this other Indigenous context. We're just people. And that's really, really exciting to be able to work with them and also set protocols, how to work with Indigenous people in a respectful way and build these relationships. And I think that's going to set a precedent as far as how people move forward and build these strong relationships between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people in this country.
Well, Patrick, it sounds as if you're off to a really strong start. We wish you all the best. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Hawa.